Okay, guys, welcome back to another stream. Hope everyone is doing well. As always, guys, if you are enjoying the content, please be sure to drop a like, subscribe to the channel, hit the bell, all that good stuff does really help out. But as always, we'll go through a bunch of markets, share where my attention is, what I'm looking at. Of course, if there's any particular markets you guys do have an interest in, want my opinion, drop it in the chat. More than happy to take a look. And of course, any particular time frames as well, let me know. Um, What's up, Tashi? Good morning, my man. Hope you are doing well. So I'll start with the Forex majors. We'll go through the USD side of things, and then we'll take a look at some of the metals as well, because they've been interesting over the past week or so. But I'll start with Euro USD, Pound USD, because if you didn't catch the weekly analysis on the weekend, I said these two are still my interests going into this week. I'm still looking for downside for both of them. I'm still pretty bearish in terms of fundamentally USD still looking very strong. Price action wise, still pointing down. We do have a lot of arrows still pointing to the downside for Euro USD and Pound. Haven't really seen that momentum really come through. This is Euro USD on the 4-hour chart. I do like Pound USD a little bit more, so I'll go into that in a moment. But with Euro USD, effectively the market is in a range here. And in terms of opportunities, I would say we're coming into one because we're coming to the midpoint of the range. Now, not the best place for any kind of long-term positions, but this is kind of the area where we could expect to see some reactions and expect price to spill over. So we're coming to the midpoint of the range, and you can see where we're trading. If we drop to the 4-hour chart, we're trading to the prior week's high as well, and we're really struggling to break through that. This is the resistance we're holding in. So I'm looking to see if we can roll over and see some downside. Now, I'm not necessarily banking on a push all the way back to the low. In fact, I'm just looking for kind of halfway down, then potentially maybe price might find support, it might turn around, or you might persist and see price really roll over, which I am expecting price to do eventually, especially if USD keeps its strength up. But this opportunity stays valid as long as we hold on to this high. If price does start to break through, at that point, we've got some bullish structure coming in, and we're trading above the midpoint of the range, which does really lower the probability. So for Euro USD, short bias is still intact as long as we maintain resistance here. Now, we are pretty flat here. So in terms of entry opportunities, there's two ways to go about it. One way is a bit more conservative, but doesn't give you the best entry. One way gives you the best entry, but a little bit more aggressive. Now, I'm always a big fan in terms of looking to see how the market behaves at a certain area, because price can get to a level and you might be looking to sell at that level, but you don't necessarily know how price is going to react there. Price may tap into that level and completely sell off. It might tap into that area and consolidate. It might tap into that area, consolidate, and break to the upside. Of course, there's plenty of things price could do. But essentially, if you're looking to sell from an area, you're expecting price to get there, sellers to enter the market, potentially buyers to exit as well, and see price push down. So since we did achieve that at the start of the week, you can see prices rallied and got there. We've just seen consistent wicks back and forth, basically consolidation. So it's price is basically telling us that essentially we are seeing sellers come in at this area, but they're not strong enough to push price down. Now that could shift at any point within the week. Suddenly price could break to the downside and there could be that shift, but it's difficult to predict that without any evidence. So the conservative opportunity would be essentially waiting for price to break below support and then looking for shorts there intraday. And hopefully we see some momentum really step in. And of course, if price does break down but breaks back above, you stop out or you exit the trade, because at that point, we're not seeing any follow through. So the safe opportunity and the more confirmed opportunities waiting to see evidence of selling pressure. We've seen sellers get in, which is good. They're holding that resistance, but they're not effective enough to push price away. You could say the same thing about buyers finding support, not effective enough to break through yet. So the more effective short would just be waiting for price to show evidence of selling pressure. And then intraday, we look for some shorts and we got different targets to look for, depending how aggressive that selling pressure comes in. The more aggressive opportunity, which is kind of just a 50-50 play, but does give you the better trade, in terms of entry location, is just looking for some shorts right at the high here, getting your stop loss above the high, looking for entries there. This, of course, will maximize your risk reward opportunity, put your stop loss in a relatively safe place as well. But it is really a 50-50 bet at this point because price has already reacted with this level multiple times and it still hasn't pulled away. So effectively, this trade is saying I'm expecting eventually sellers to step in, which again, it's a guessing game at this point. So that would be the more aggressive trade, but again, the reward is you probably walk away with a bigger profit. But then again, of course, you could really scale down and find a tight entry somewhere on a lower time frame. So there's two ways to go about it. I'm looking for price to make that commitment because we've had that initial reaction, haven't seen any follow through. That's not something I want to bank on. I want to see evidence of confirmation, which would be momentum persisting, and then we can look for opportunities there. So I'm quite bearish on euro dollar. Raphael, what's up? Yes, we could take a look at gold. I'll go for euro dollar and pound first, and I'll shift over to the metals. So I'm keeping an eye on euro, but not there yet. It's 50-50. Pound USD, similar situation. I did take a short on the intraday time frames yesterday. Nice short there as price pushed into resistance into the higher end of the week. It came into a break even. We didn't really see any follow through, which again goes back to my earlier point. You know, you could short from an area, price might react, but it might not really pull away. So at that point, you need to react to what price is doing because some trades you take, price will just rip in your favor and it looks amazing. And then some trades you take, price doesn't really do anything. Again, that's information you didn't have before you took the position. But anyway, so like I said, pound USD is still my preferred opportunity. I'm still liking a push back into the lows here. Again, if we go to the weekly chart, you can kind of see what, let me clean up the chart a little bit. You can see what I'm referring to, which is you've got the range high there, we've got the range low roughly around here with the first, second, third test. Essentially for pound, I'm looking for us just to complete the swing back into lows, which we kind of done maybe 75, 80% of. So I'm looking at this as a short-term pullback before we see the next leg down. So that's the opportunity I'm trying to trade to take advantage of. Same situation as euro. We're trading the 50% of the zone here. So you can see this is the 50. We're currently firing a lot of wicks into that area. So it looks like that is providing some nice resistance. And if we can stay below, I do expect that bias to fulfill. If price breaks above, I will relax that bearish bias completely. At that point, it's just fluctuation. So I'm looking to see if we can get that rollover and push to 1.31, 1.315. Now, I did say coming into the week, I'm expecting a bullish move first. Reason being, we had this very choppy corrective price action for last week. Momentum didn't really persist. So I said we're probably likely to have a rally first back to highs. And then this is the area which is going to be make or break. If price can hold this, there could be a really clean sell. If price breaks above, I will invalidate that bias and I'll probably just become neutral at that point. I wouldn't even shift bullish. So again, some situation for euro as with pound, which is, again, we push into the prior week's high. Again, effectively, sellers have come into the market. We can see evidence of that with these rejection and wicks. But equally, buyers are doing a pretty good job too. So again, if sellers can persist and see price break lower, that's the selling opportunity. And then at that point, I'm looking at lows, I'm looking at lows, I'm looking at lows, I'm looking at the weekly lows as well. And the opportunity will just be lower time frame shorts, similar to the one I took on Tuesday there. So yeah, in terms of euro and pound, pretty clear bearish bias. We've got, of course, momentum that's persisted for the past few weeks. USD still fundamentally pretty bullish. The only obstacle on our way, really, I'll flick over to the metals in a second, is that the DXY isn't fully cooperating because the DXY, again, in another range, we've just rejected the high of the range there as well. There is room for the DXY to pull back to the 50 before pushing up. So if the DXY does that, then we'll probably see something happen similar on pound and euro. But if the DXY does, for whatever reason, persist and we do see momentum pick up like that, then we've probably got ourselves a nice trade there and either euro or pound, or of course other USD pairs. But those are the two I like the most. Hey, what's up, CS Integrated? Welcome to the stream. Same sentiment. Yeah, I like the shorts there for euro and pound. That's still the play. It's just a bit of consolidation right now, so it's kind of just seeing if the bears really step in or not. CS Trump sneeze. Give me a chance to enter long position for DXY. Yeah, a lot of people are. I was looking at Trump's um, tweets, Trump's statements are pretty much trade signals and volatility in themselves. We saw that last time he was in power, and again we're seeing that as well. And of course, you know, the current context, you would expect it to. So yeah, Trump could sneeze, and that could be a nice opportunity. Actually, fade the sneeze. That could be a bit of a strategy. What's up, Yusuf? Welcome to the stream. Hope you're well. Welcome, welcome. Happy Wednesday. Right back at you. The red candle was by Trump. Tweet of 5 days break. Yeah, not rejection of 100. Oh, okay, yeah. I mean, we had that tweet the other day with oil as well. That was pretty crazy too. Um, yeah, I can see a lot of people trading that. To be honest, I mean, there was a lot of people trading that. To be honest. But anyway, we'll go through gold. Raphael mentioned gold earlier. Gold longs at 4 hour and 1 hour to target 5K. Okay. Target 5K. That's a pretty big move there. 5K is roughly around there. I mean, I do like Monday's candle. I do really like Monday's candle. That is an aggressive wick, piercing that low and actually pulling all the way and just closing back above. That for me is a wonderful candle to see because it's such a piercing wick. That's a huge move, and by the end of the day, we're seeing all that selling pressure absorbed and closed back above. And of course, the next day, Tuesday, closes bullish as well. We also had a bit of a wick to the downside. So to me, this is a clear sign of buy stepping in. And if this momentum can persist, yeah, there is some upside. Would I bank on 5K? Probably not, because that's something that I don't necessarily have any evidence that price will get there. What I can be a bit more confident on is probably a 50% retracement of that bearish leg. Naturally, 50 is always a place the market naturally does gravitate towards, not always, but um, that is a natural place for a pullback to happen towards. So 50%, I can be a little bit more confident that price could get there, especially after such a rejection, especially at such a low. 5K and beyond is kind of if we see a full shift. So maybe there's a lot of buyers stepping into the market, and that gives us a full kind of shift from bears to bulls. That could happen. I can't necessarily predict that. But 50% looks logical. So I do like gold to the upside. On one what's the word I'm looking for? One condition, that price does remain above this low. If it starts breaking below that, then we've kind of lost the rejection, because the whole point is we've seen such an aggressive rejection of that low. If price now suddenly goes and breaks the low, well, it's kind of like, okay, there was no point of the rejection in the first place. We could just roll over. So we need to stay above, and momentum needs to start picking up as well, which it looks like it's doing. So I quite like gold buys, and anything pulling back into this area, I would say is a healthy place for a buy. There's your brief consolidation, there's your breakout, essentially looking for a pullback and then the continuation. So yeah, I like gold to the upside. 5K, maybe. I would say around 47.50, that next kind of intermediate psychological level before 5K, I think is a slightly more high probability. Of course, it's closer anyway, so slightly more high probability opportunity there. And also you can keep an eye on this zone on the left. That's probably more reference point in terms of price. But yeah, gold I like to the upside. Gold I like to the upside. Just short term though. I'm not predicting any major swings just yet. Good afternoon, Mr. Alex. Welcome to the stream, my man. Hope you're well. Karnataka. Is that where is that? I've never heard of that place before. Sounds like somewhere in like India or Bangladesh, but I could be completely wrong there. Please, thoughts on UJGJ EU15? Absolutely, you can take a look. And of course, if there's any requests, drop it down in the chat. More than happy to take a look. So yeah, we can go through Euro on the 15. I was just looking at Euro on the full hour, and I said basically we've got consolidation. I'm waiting for price to break lower before I start to look to sell. So essentially, all I'm looking at is, can we break out of this for some downside? So that's the opportunity I'm personally looking at, even intraday as well. But in terms of the 15-minute now, I would be very, very careful. Reason being, because you're trading inside a range. So I would say if you can get a spike into this low, taking out Asia as well, and then seeing a recovery, that could be a nice short-term mean reversion trade. You got your mean of the range, which is more or less around here, and that could be a nice target to have. So you're basically saying, okay, if price does push to the extremes of the range, fails to break through, sees some nice rejection, there's a good chance we're probably going to pull back towards the mean. And likewise with the highs as well, although I probably would wait for a push to again be above the highs here. I wouldn't want to take a short with a stop loss below that high. So I'll probably wait for a slightly more exaggerated move. And again, looking for entries roughly around here. And again, a push towards the mean. Because you don't really have any momentum. You don't have a trend to persist or to follow. There's no real momentum here. Here's just about trading the extremes. So yeah, I would say with Euro on the 15, if you're looking for kind of mean reversion plays, you got some nice opportunities. If you're looking for momentum, trend plays, breakouts, then yeah, essentially you want to see price commit above or below those areas. Once we see commitment, then hopefully we can get some shorts or even potentially some longs as well. So yeah, Euro's pretty flat. Unless you're kind of looking for range plays, I would stay away. If you are, you've got some nice opportunities there once we get to the extremes. In terms of pound USD, same as Euro, I'm looking for price to eventually break out of this range and then either roll over. I mean, that's the main play I'm looking for, a push back to these areas, or maybe we do expand higher. So again, for Euro, for pound, sorry, I would say the mean reversion plays make the most sense. Kind of saw one a little bit this morning there. Would be nice if we could even spike yesterday's low as well. That would be a nice place for a buy. And vice versa, if we push back to the highs of the extreme, that's obviously a nice place for a short too, provided we see some healthy rejection. So again, I wouldn't be looking for any momentum plays here, especially in Euro and pound. Very flat market, very sideways. We've been oscillating for the past couple of days now. So you're just looking to call the highs and buy the lows. And then, of course, if you're looking for trend plays, you're waiting for breakouts and sustained momentum, which we've got no evidence of happening just yet. So that's something to be patient for. But very, very flat otherwise. Very, very flat. So yeah, that's kind of the 15. And if we take a look at UJ and the 15 as well. So UJ overall, just get the bigger picture, still pretty bullish. Yes, we're trading at highs, but I haven't really seen any downside or any meaningful downside come into play. Yes, we did have that kind of really aggressive sell-off for the yen pairs last week, Thursday, but since then, momentum's persisted pretty well. So overall, still pretty bullish. I still do like this target over here. That to me still looks like a likely area we could push towards. Yeah, so I'm still pretty bullish until I see sustained bearish structure. Then of course I'll change my tune, but at the moment still very bullish. So if we scale to a 15, how would I look to play this now? Well, this is your area for swings. If price was to push down here, you could probably scale to like a 4-hour chart and look for some meaningful swings. If this bullish structure does persist, if we're going to continue this bullish structure, this could be a nice buy if we push towards the lows, probably even below Asia. I would say anywhere in here is a nice place for a buy because you're essentially trying to catch the next higher low, persisting this uptrend, and of course a pushback to highs would be a logical first target. But if you're being a bit more greedy, maybe the highs over there, things go very well. But we do have some bullish structure which we can play around. I wouldn't be looking to sell. We've got high time frame bullish bias. Let's focus on the longs. It's not too range bound where I would say, yeah, this is a ranging market. Let's just short the highs and buy the lows. There is a slight drift to it. So I'd focus more on the longs. If this breaks, then like I said, this is our next meaningful area. But this is the area which I would say buys look good. You're trading at lows back into meaningful support. If you can respect that, there's a good chance for continuation back to highs. And then if things go very well, maybe prior week highs as well. That could be something to look into. But yeah, UJ would be pretty bullish here. UJ, there's at least some structure to play. So if you're looking for kind of more trend opportunities and you're stuck between Euro, Pound, and UJ, UJ looks a little bit cleaner to me. So yeah, hopefully that made sense. Please explain market analysis. You mean market analysis in general, or? Yeah, if you're talking about in general, I mean, that's a very, very broad term because there's a billion ways you can analyze a market. If you're talking about technical analysis, then that's just the study of repeated patterns, essentially. Um, that's technical analysis in a nutshell. Of course, there's a billion different ways you can analyze a market technically too, but essentially you're looking for patterns. If you find a pattern that consists of a large span of time, you've got some analysis there. And it's just basically looking to repeat that as long as the edge remains true. But yeah, that's a whole kind of video. Pound CAD, yes, we can take a look at as well, no problem. LFTJ missed the breakout on dollar CAD. Okay, we can take a look at dollar CAD as well. Yusuf, happy to help, my man, happy to help, no problem. Okay, so we'll go through GB CAD. Not really a market I've been keeping up to date too much with. Our focus has been with Pound USD, which is essentially very similar to Pound CAD anyway. But Pound CAD has been interesting, a lot more bullish than Pound USD. Of course, USD has been stronger than CAD, so Pound CAD's had a bit more joy. Very, very choppy conditions. Essentially, you could probably call this a range here. Of course, guys, if you have any particular time frames you want me to look on as well, you can drop it in the chat too. But regularly, I'm going to look at daily, 4 hour, hourly. That's kind of where I spend most of my time. And then I can also look at the 15 for execution as well. But yeah, in terms of Pound CAD, we've had a really nice rejection of the low. And price has really picked up some nice momentum. But again, where are we trading? In the middle of all of this. So it's not effectively the best place for any meaningful swing trades. Maybe short-term opportunities you can get away with, but I wouldn't be looking to try and hold for anything crazy. Again, you could catch a meaningful swing trade from anywhere. It's just the middle of the range, statistically not the best place. But anyway, we've got some momentum that's picking up off this low. Now we're hitting the 50. I expect us to probably start slowing down, finding resistance, maybe consolidating a little bit as well, but that's not necessarily happening just yet. So with Pound CAD, we're breaking above the last week's highs at the moment. That could change, but we are seeing momentum there starting to pick up. Now, essentially, we could be looking at price having a bit of a pullback because I would say at the moment it's a little bit too late to be looking for longs. I mean, if you're looking for breakout plays, you're in the right place. But like I said, middle of the range, looking for breakout plays just doesn't line up. If you're looking for breakouts, you want to be at the extremes of ranges, not in the middle. Breakouts in the middle are going to be have a far greater chance of being a fake out and just being messy price action, not seeing much follow through. So I wouldn't be looking at breakout plays here. If we can trade above and then suddenly price does break back below, that becomes interesting. That could be a nice short, maybe Thursday, Friday. So I would be looking at some mean reversion plays for Pound CAD. Yes, momentum is still pretty strong, but we're coming to the midpoint. That means we're probably going to start to find resistance. Momentum is going to start slowing. If we can break back below prior resistance, that naturally means, okay, failed buys back below resistance. If you can hold that, that becomes a nice short. Again, maybe Thursday, Friday, or maybe even, Thursday, Friday. So I don't think today. But yeah, with pound CAD, that's kind of my bias. I am looking for shorts, but not really seeing momentum. Agree with that. And of course, I could be wrong. Maybe we do absolutely fly to the moon. That could be true as well. But I wouldn't be looking for that trade. So yeah, pound CAD looking for us to redeem resistance, and then I like the opportunity for some sells. And again, it doesn't have to be a crazy sell-off either. Even if we just pushed back to these lows, that could be a nice trade on a 15-minute, maybe this area here as well. Something you manage as the trade continues. But yeah, pound CAD, I'll be looking at fading the highs. In terms of dollar CAD, now this one again, we've seen some nice upside. Looks like USD strength is really stepping into play against the CAD, but I think the CAD's actually pretty weak as well. Yeah, it looks like we're getting that breakout. So there could be the retest because, of course, after every breakout, there's that 50-50 chance that price comes back to retest the level it broke out of for continuation. Of course, some breakouts don't do that. Some breakouts just fly. Maybe this is one of them. We'll find out. But yeah, we are looking quite bullish here. We are looking quite bullish. And if I go to the higher time frames, we are trading from a pretty meaningful area. We bounced off this low essentially. So for dollar CAD, let's see the swing of the prior week. So if we the prior week, sorry, prior bear leg. So this is the high to the low. Essentially, the 50% was holding pretty well as resistance, but not anymore. We did break above, hold, now we're pushing. So at this point, I would say there's actually a pretty good chance we push back to this area now, the origin of the swing. Because if we do hold the 50, we have normally a greater chance of continuation. If the 50 fails, we normally have a greater chance of pushing back to the origin of the swing. So I would be looking at push back to 1.39 roughly this area. So if we could see a pullback for dollar CAD retesting some areas and we stay above that high, I would say that looks like a really nice opportunity for a long. I'm pretty bullish on dollar CAD. Well, I am bullish on dollar CAD, but I'm very bullish on USD at the moment. So I think it lines up pretty well. I'm at the moment more focused on pound shorts. So that's kind of the USD pair, which I'm looking to trade. But yeah, USD CAD, I would agree with that bias there as well. Clean breakout-ish. As long as we don't come melting down back below this area, I would say the buys look good. And you've got some distance as well. If momentum can really pick up, you still got a decent amount of pips between where we're trading and the next big target. So yeah, dollar CAD looks like the breakout's underway. But should we pull back? I think that's a nice opportunity. I would say keep an eye on the high here. That's the first area. I would also say we could even have a deep pullback into the prior low too. So we could do something like this, or maybe even a deep pullback like that. But those are the two opportunities. Break below that, then yeah, I wouldn't be looking at any break and retest after that. So yeah, dollar CAD picking up very, very nice. I like momentum. This is where we can look for pullbacks and some momentum plays. Yes, we could take a look at Euro USD Rand, no problem. So yeah, euro dollar, as I mentioned before, I'll go through the rest of the FX majors. We can go through some of the yen pairs as well. But yeah, essentially for euro USD, I'm bearish. I'm looking for sells. We've been in this nice trend ish for a while, and now prices pull back into the prior week's high. And at the moment, we're holding onto that pretty well. So the plan is essentially, if this is going to be where we sell off from, I need to see evidence of sellers actually winning this battle. Because at this point, sellers have kicked into the market at the high, because of course you can see the wicks there, the failed breakouts. But equally so, buyers are doing pretty well at holding support here. So we've got a 50-50 tussle here between sellers and buyers. Now, price could potentially break higher, could break lower. I would say it's 50-50 at this point. But should we see some evidence of support failing, then that's my signal to say, okay, sellers have won, highs have held, and now I'm looking for that continuation lower. If, of course, we do break to the upside, I'm not really interested in the buys on pound at the moment, but If you do break to the upside, okay, the seller's lost. We might be seeing a bit more upside at that point. But yeah, I'm pretty bearish for pound. I'm pretty bearish for pound. So effectively, I just want to see a clean break of this, and then that becomes opportunities I can look for on the hourly 15, looking for some pullbacks, and then looking for some continuation plays. So just keeping things very, very simple. But yeah, at the moment, a very, very choppy range here. So I would stay away from all of this unless you're actually looking to try and fade highs and buy lows. If you're looking to try and take some shorts off that, longs off that, okay, fair enough. Otherwise, yeah, no trend plays make any sense. But in terms of across the board, USD strength looks like it is still persisting to a degree. I wouldn't say it's dominating, but USD strength is still the main play. We've got Aussie dollar consolidating here, fading at highs. Looks like this trend is hitting a brick wall at the moment. You can see on the weekly chart, persistent wicks there to the upside. So it looks like we're seeing real failure at these areas. And it's a similar situation to euro and pound. If we can see evidence of price breaking support here, there's a gap, a pretty clean gap to 0.67. I would say that's the area we're next targeting. So in terms of opportunities for Aussie dollar, I would be saying, okay, there could be some short-term buys here. If price does push here, gives us another wick, could be some short-term buys there. But I would say if you're looking for, again, momentum plays, trend following opportunities, you're looking for breakouts of these ranges, and then you're looking for that momentum to last and to sustain. And the next valuable area for me, 0.675. So you have a pretty nice tradable range there to take advantage of. But of course, we're probably still maybe a few days away from that actually being an opportunity. We still need to get there, still need to see the breakout, etc. So in terms of Aussie, all eyes on 0.692 roughly. What do we do here? What do we do there? Of course, we already got there at the start of the week. We had a nice aggressive reaction. It looks like it just hit the midpoint of the week and then failed. So yeah, hit the midpoint and then roll back over. Now we're coming back for another test. So again, the plan is what we're going to do here again. Is it going to be another reaction? Is it going to be half the reaction? Or are we just going to see a breakout? Because trading is all about reacting to what price is doing. Because I can draw a million different levels. One of those levels is going to have a reaction. One of those levels, price is probably going to reverse from. I don't know necessarily which level that's going to be prior to that, but based on how price is reacting, I can make an educated guess. Or a statistical guess, actually. So it all matters at how price reacts at certain areas, and that becomes a tradable opportunity. Beforehand, a level is just just a level. It has no real meaning because, of course, buyers and sellers have reacted at that area before. Doesn't necessarily mean buyers and sellers are going to react to that area again. So it's all about what they do again. Do buyers keep holding this, or do they back away? Sellers break through. Okay, that's new information. We can trade opportunities around that, and of course, vice versa. So yeah, let's see what happens there in terms of dollar CHF. This one's been interesting. At the moment, I'd probably say we've got a fairly nice bull trend here, but I would say, quite interestingly, we're trading at a very, very significant area, which looks like price is trying to break above, but it's not quite clear. Scale to the weekly does become a little bit clearer because I would say we did get close above, and then last week's candle did close slightly below, but basically we're just kind of fluctuating. So I would say if we can get this week's candle to close strongly like here, then yeah, I would say we've broken back above this, and then going into next week, I'll be looking at these plays to the next high. But the key point for me is that we've broken above that 50% as well. So you can see if I map from the high to the low here, we've had the 50% prices broken quite cleanly above that. So it's a bit of a hint to say that this initial bearish momentum looks to be dead. And if we can hold above support here, I'm looking at push to 0.805 for dollar CHF. So at the moment, yeah, it's not quite clear if this is fully price breaking above and retesting. I would lean that way, but Again, we've seen a lot of wicks there, so it might be a bit ugly. But if we can get a strong close in the week, then going into next week, the buys make a lot of sense. And we're basically just continuing this trend. And again, USD strength is the main play here. So I'm looking across the board for all the FX majors. And to me, the main theme here is USD strength. So in terms of correlated market analysis, USD seems the main play. That's the direction you kind of want to really be playing in, unless you're looking for short-term plays. So yeah, dollar CHF pointing to the upside, but I would be a little bit skeptical about buying just yet. It's still a little bit messy. I will go through some of the metals next. No problem. Happy to help, Rowan. Yes, of course, reached 4280 level in a few days as predicted. Yeah, that was a monster move. To be honest, I was expecting a pullback for gold, but not that big and not that quickly as well. So that was quite a shock there. Because again, with basically within a week, we're already trading at those areas. So that was a huge move. And then you said you're looking for a pushback to 5K. Is that correct? Where are you from? I'm a bit got a bit of everything, but born and raised in the UK. The accent probably gives it away. But yeah, and in terms of gold, I did a quick overview of this one earlier. I'm looking at some upside, at least to the midway point of that bearish move. I drew the fib from the high to the low of a century, just looking for a healthy pullback because we just seen a really aggressive rejection of that prior low. You can see humongous wick piercing through, then a massive pullback. That tells me that we've seen a lot of selling pressure, but all of that selling pressure in that area just got absorbed very easily. So I'm pretty bullish for at least a pullback. Of course, maybe something like this could still happen, but I'm looking at this bullish move here. Okay, so okay, no worries. In a class, we give information about the market. No problem. Happy to help, man. So yeah, gold, I'm looking at some upside. In terms of some of the other metals, so silver, again, we did see a wick not as aggressive as gold, so I'm not that necessarily wowed by silver, but naturally same analysis still stands. Failure at prior lows, I would be looking now at a bit of a pullback. The 50% is not too far away, and that's kind of where I would be expecting price to be attracted towards. And of course, it's been a nice level of support previously. So metals, I'm short-term bullish purely on a pullback of the previous bearish legs. So in terms of plays, I do like the idea of looking for some pullbacks. You can see we get some bullish structure at the moment. So again, for silver, this becomes an area of interest. If we can hold that, that's a nice place for a buy. It doesn't even have to be a push to the midpoint, to the 50. You can even look at just a pullback back to the prior high. You know, keep things very simple. There's your push, there's your pullback, push back to the high, take your profit. That's a nice trade in itself. Same thing for gold as well. If we take a look at gold quickly. So again, there's your bullish move for gold. There's your structure. As long as price can maintain that, I'm looking for a buy. But again, it could just be a pushback to the high. Keep it very simple. So yeah, I like that. I like the metals purely for retracement at the moment, because even with this wick here, you know, this is still a really big sell-off and a pretty forceful one as well. So I'm not going to call a full reversal just because we don't have that much evidence. But what I will say is that this is a pretty healthy pullback from the high. So 5,600, we pulled all the way back to 4,100. You know, that's a pretty big pullback, almost, yeah, more than 20%. So it's a pretty big pullback. 20% pullback on gold. You know, potentially looking at investors saying, okay, it's not a bad correction. I don't mind placing some longs. Again, that's purely speculation. But There's sense behind it. Raphael, no, I'm not in London. I'm in Kigali at the moment. Kingsley, what's up, my man? Welcome to the stream. I'm doing good. Hope you're well. Good to see you. Good to see you. Hope you haven't touched on New Zealand dollar, CAD, yen. No, I have not actually looked at any of those actually. So more than happy to take a look. And of course, if there's any particular time frames you want me to take a look at, let me know as well. LFTJ, which trade are you currently in? For me, no trade this week. I'm not in any trade at the moment, but I did take a short on pound yesterday, intraday chart. That it was a break even, so I didn't really have much progression, unfortunately. But again, price was trading at the prior week's high, so essentially looking for us to reject that area and continue. But of course, since then we've basically rejected support and range. So I did get taken out of the trade yesterday as well. But I'm still looking for the same trade, still looking for price to roll back over. I'm not looking for shorts in here anymore just because we're too flat. So it's buyers and sellers doing an equal job there. I want to see now price persist lower, and then I look for the next continuation. So still mainly looking at pound USD shorts. But yeah, not really a busy week. To be honest, I'm only focusing really for now on euro and pound. So I'm not trying to overdo it because that's where I see opportunities. So that's kind of where I want to keep my focus at. So if pound can start to roll over this week, I'll be looking for some pullbacks. Otherwise, just only got a break even to show for it. But yeah, we'll go through New Zealand dollar, CAD, yen, USD ZAR. I haven't looked at any of them. Again, the main theme with USD pairs is still USD bullishness. So I'm still looking for that to be the dominant factor. And we're seeing, of course, a sign of that happening over the past few weeks with all this price action. I do expect more downside. This is an interesting area to keep an eye on as well. 0.57251. That is a prior low, which gave us our last kind of real meaningful bullish swing. So naturally, that could be a bit of a draw on price, and we could find support there too. But to me, it looks like price is still very consistent with all these lower highs here. Each swing was lower than the last, not really seeing any strength in this bullish momentum. Sellers to me still look like the dominant participant, so still very bearish here. And if you drop to the 4-hour chart, you can see we've had a better sell here for New Zealand dollar than we did for pound, because New Zealand dollar opened up, pushed into the prior week's high, rejected that, and we've had price roll over. Pound USD did the same thing, but we just didn't get that rollover. And of course, New Zealand dollar is a lot weaker than pound at the moment, so we're getting a bit more of a move there. But again, in terms of opportunity for New Zealand dollar, I would say the opportunity is kind of gone because you effectively want to be selling nearer to this area here. Unless we do have another push up and reject the highs again, you never know. We could see that happen Thursday, Friday, and then you've got your trade on you. But essentially, within the trend, in the bearish trend, this is essentially just a bit of a range. And like with any range, the higher you sell within it, the better. So selling down here is always going to be a bit of a tricky place. We could easily start to find support. Momentum can dry up. We can start to consolidate as well. So you want to be selling as high as possible, anywhere kind of within here, or even better if you can spike above, but that may or may not happen. But yeah, New Zealand dollar, pretty bearish buy. Still looking for a bit more downside. We've got that support level I mapped out on the daily chart, which I think is still going to be a big draw on price. And yeah, sellers still winning this battle. So if we can push up, that's great. If not, it might be a trade that's already kind of in motion. In terms of CAD yen, okay. I'm not sure why I've got that line there. I think that's when I was analyzing the monthly chart. Anyway, for CAD yen, we still got a bit of room to the upside should price still want to hit those highs. And I still think there's a good chance we do that as long as we maintain this bullish structure, which so far we are doing. So in terms of CAD yen, it could be time for some retracement. We're clawing back underneath that high there on the left. Effectively, we could retrace as deep as this low before continuing. So there's still that room price can maneuver into. But in terms of the high time frame direction, still very, very bullish, but it depends on your time horizon. You're looking for a swing trade for the week, for the day, or you're looking to try and swing and hold for multiple weeks. Essentially, for CAD Yen, because we are trading at a very significant area, I would say in terms of looking for longs, I would say keep an eye on what we do at the prior week's low. That could be an interesting place, but I wouldn't be so aggressive because we are dipping below that low. This could be a nice play in terms of a short-term reaction, but we could still meaningfully move down. So it could be a short-term play, maybe back into a midpoint or back into this range, and then we could sell off. Of course, we could fly, but I would be conservative. If for whatever reason price starts to hold this area and we see price start to break to the upside again, well, then the setup becomes pretty simple. Just looking for the next pullback after that, and we've got some targets back at the highs, or at least the highs on our left. So I'll still be pretty bullish on CAD Yen. My bias on high time frames is still bullish. Structure still pointing up. We're in a pullback phase at the moment. So the question is, how deep is this pullback? As long as we stay above these two lows here, I would still deem any bearish move to be a pullback. If we break through here, then yeah, could still be a pullback, but at that point, I wouldn't expect it to be. So the question I'm asking is, how deep is this pullback going to go? Potentially, it might shift from here. It might shift a lot deeper. Price is going to be the best dictator of that. So let's see what we do at the prior week's low. If for whatever reason we turn bullish, then of course things become simple, but I wouldn't necessarily expect that. Let's see what we can do at the low. That could be a short-term buy. But currently, momentum is shifting bearish, so I wouldn't be too overly confident on any buy trade. Even though the higher time frames are pointing up, I wouldn't look to get into a buy and just hold, just because right now the bears are winning the battle. And we've got no evidence that the buyers are going to step in just yet. So some short-term buys at some meaningful areas makes sense. Otherwise, I'll be a bit careful. And USD ZAR, not one I've been keeping up to date with either, but let's see what's happened. Okay, so last time I spoke about USD ZAR, looks like it was over here by my drawings. Okay, so yeah, I remember price was still in that persistent bearish trend, and I was saying the simplest thing to do is just continue that momentum. Looks like we're finding a bit of support. I wouldn't even say the bearish trend is over. Pulling back into some structure, we could very well roll back over from there. Actually, could actually be a very nice sell coming up. But anyway, so last time we were trading this range here. I said if we can reject the range high again, that would be a smart place for a sell. Of course, looking back, we saw price just completely break through, which is why price is the biggest indicator and the best kind of confirmer of a bias. Is price agreeing with your bias or disagreeing? This looked like a great place to sell, but we can see prices absolutely broke through that, had a really nice retest of it and continued. So if price was firing wicks here, that would be a different story. If not, we could have been talking about some sells, but they're a very, very aggressive breakout. But anyway, since then, we're coming back to retest some structure here, which could be a turning point. And the fact that we are looking quite corrective does agree with that. Of course, structure is still pointing up. So essentially, I want to see signs of us doing something like this. And then this becomes a nice short. That could take a week or two to actually form. USDZR can be a little bit slow before really pushing quite aggressively, especially after sustained bullish move as well. So I would say keep an eye on some shorts. I'm not interested in longs anymore, especially with us being tired, especially us coming back into a significant zone. So sells is where I see value. And if that does come through, we could see a move all the way back to the prior low. So in terms of risk rewards, you've got a really nice opportunity there, but I would be patient. So yeah, USDZR, I like the swing trade to the downside, just not quite there yet. Where we're trading, I think is naturally a nice place for sellers to start taking this lower. Of course, if we break above, we'll reanalyze, but if we can hold, there's a lot of room to the downside. So yes, that's my take on USDZAR. Hopefully that made sense. That shorter time frame, 4 hour, 1 hour. Okay, yeah, I think that's roughly what I was looking at. CS, what do you think of Aussie dollar? I'm bearish. I agree. I'm bearish as well. I'm pretty bullish across the board on USD. So anything against USD right now. I'm actually funny enough, I'm looking at sales and USDZAR there, but any of the majors anyway, I'm looking at USD being the stronger currency. So yeah, Aussie dollar, I'm looking at a sell. We've had a very nice bullish move here, but it looks like the market's just very, very fatigued at this point. So you can see consistent wicks here to the upside, 1, 2, 3, 4. Market looks as if it's finding a top. It hasn't really got the breakout happen just yet. So I would say in terms of waiting for a safe bet, what you could do is essentially wait for that support to go. Once we see evidence of buyers failing, that really does put the emphasis on the sellers, and I would be looking at push back to the next meaningful area. Of course, if you do wait for that, it means you're entering a little bit later than maybe other sellers who have entered, here. But what you do is you allow price to show that sellers are actually winning, because essentially buyers could hold support and we could trade back towards the upside, and this range could continue. So you dodge that bullet essentially by waiting for evidence of a breakout. But yeah, I do think we are more likely to break support, especially if USD remains strong. But of course, that could change at any point. So yeah, Aussie dollar, it looks to me we've had a big bull run. Market's fatiguing. Looks like it's finding a high. If there's evidence of sellers persisting, I think that's a nice sell opportunity, especially if you scale lower. And the next meaningful area for a support would be down here. So it's not only a good opportunity because it looks like the market's tiring, it's also a good opportunity because if it does follow through, there's a pretty tradable distance between price and the next barrier of support. So it means the opportunity is rich. If there was support, strong support right here, then it wouldn't be as good of an opportunity because we could find support and then reverse. But because the next area is down here, it means you got some nice room to trade. And of course, we could find support anywhere, but it's just if we're looking at price, the next reference point is down there. So yeah, I like Aussie dollar to the downside. I'm more focused on pound and euro at the moment, but again, it's the same idea. USD is going to be strong. These majors are gonna see some downside. So far, 2 predictions. Your live went my way. My third prediction be dollar yen to reach new all-time high, with its first all-time high be 162, maybe 163 eventually. Yeah, to be fair, I agree with that, to be honest. If you look at the yen, it's still fundamentally very, very weak, and it doesn't look like there's any signs of it slowing down. So I do think price is going to make new highs. This is actually not the all-time high. It's a high for a very long time, but funny enough, it's not actually the all-time high. We've had some prior price action back in the 1980s, 1990s, but of course, we haven't been there in decades. But it would be the new all-time high since roughly 1986. Then beyond that, we have traded higher. But yeah, a new high in a very, very long time. Absolutely, I agree. I think if you look at structure alone, buyers are still controlling the market on the higher time frames, and the monthly chart is going to have the biggest say. So if the monthly is still showing momentum, that means the big participants who have the money to move the market are still betting long. Then unless something major changes with the yen or with the dollar, I don't see that trend necessarily ending just yet. The likelihood is that we at least take up the highs here. Then maybe something might shift. Maybe we might exhaust, but the odds of us taking out the highs versus not taking out the highs is pretty high. So yeah, I fully agree. Dollar yen still likely to continue. The yen still looks very weak across the board, not just against USD, but pretty much against any currency or any major currency at the moment. Yen looks fundamentally weaker. So longs against the yen is a smart play in my book, intraday and swing. So yeah, I do agree. I do think the yen is likely to persist, and if you can get maybe a pullback into the low, or even just a breakout of the high, well, I think that's an effective way to trade it. So yeah, absolutely agree there. And if you have a look at some of the other yen pairs, still pretty bullish here for the yen. I actually think pound yen looks good for new highs too. We've had this humongous support level, essentially had a bit of a fake out of that. Price is now recovered. The next area of liquidity will be above the high there. That's where I would see price drawing towards. Take a look at euro yen. Euro yen still very well. It's actually quite flat, but we're still respecting key support. This area looks like the price is just about holding above it. Next area, I expect to push back to the high of the range, but again, probably some new highs. CAD yen, we spoke about that as well. Going for a bit of a pullback at the moment, but I do think will persist and push higher. And of course, you got Aussie yen, New Zealand yen, Swiss yen. These are still very bullish as well. Very clean trend there. CHF, JPY, very clean trend as well. Yeah, slight signs of us slowing down, but no significant bearish pressure coming to the market. So yeah, across the board, yen is very weak. If I'm going to do anything with the yen, is looking to sell it against another currency. Short-term opportunities exist, but I will keep it very much short-term. But yeah, going into the rest of the week, like I said, focus still firmly on pound USD. I like this to the downside. Currently a little bit messy because of course we've got that consolidation, but should we break out of this, which I'm still looking for, I think there's a lot of room to the downside there. So I do like pound USD lower, and then these areas if things go very, very well. But in terms of confirmation for an entry, or to start to look for an entry, it really is if we just can break support. Because at the moment, with a consolidation, it's 50-50. We could break up, break down. And I'm not really interested in the buys. I'm only interested in the sells. So it's really just, can we break support here? Great. If we do, let's sell. If we don't, if we stay in the range, nothing to do. If we break above, nothing to do in terms of my bias anyway. And as I said, with you are in the same boat essentially as well. We've got the range here. Again, if we break lower, I think there's some nice opportunities there. So we'll keep an eye on euro and pound. Yes, new high. Yeah, I know that's the thing about data, to be honest, because there's many times where full price is making a new all-time high, new all-time low, but it's only a new all-time high, new all-time low compared to the data I have available. Which is why I like using FXCM on TradingView, because from my research, it's got the most data. For example, if I go to dollar yen and if I go to Oanda and I do the exact same look back, if I go on the monthly chart, you can see it actually only stops here, 2002, which again is actually more than enough data. You don't necessarily need to be looking back at 1986 and see what price was doing there. That's a little bit too far back. I just like it because it's a good reference point in higher time frames, and you can gauge all-time highs and all-time lows a bit better. So again, Oanda back to 2002, that's more than enough data than you need. But if you're looking at this chart, it looks like all-time highs to you. But then, of course, if you look at FXCM, this goes right back to 1971. And again, I'm not using price action from there, but it's always good to reference. So yeah, that's why I like using FXCM, purely just because of the data reach. But yeah, guys, we have come up to the end of the stream. I really appreciate each and every one of you tuning in. If you have enjoyed the stream, found it useful, learned something, drop a like, please. Does really help out. Oh, just hit the mic. It does really help out. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. I am live every Wednesday on the channel, but I do actually go live on Thursday as well on Trading Nick's channel. So if you go and check him out, I'll be live again during the afternoon. But yeah, guys, if you haven't checked out the Elevating Traders platform yet either, it's a platform we've launched recently. If you're looking at trading with AI tools, AI agents to help streamline your process, do back testing, build strategies, highly recommend you go check it out. At the moment, it's completely free to use as well. So there's no obligation there. If you don't like the tool, let me know as well. I'm open to feedback to improve the platform as well. So if you just want to test it out, feel free to go and do so. Like I said, it's completely free. But if you're looking to build strategies, you're looking to backtest strategies, you're looking to do any research, fundamentally, technically, sentiment, anything a trader can want to do, essentially, all here using different AI agents as well. So feel free to check it out. Just search elevatingtraders.com, completely free to check out at the moment. Um, and mess around with and see if you can come up with something cool. But guys, really appreciate you tuning into the stream. Also, Aussie dollar prediction reached 0.66 levels in the last live I mentioned. Hope you'll acknowledge me when it does. Okay, I will be sure to acknowledge you, my man. 0.66. Yeah, to be fair, I do remember you saying that. Yeah, 0.66 down there. If we do reject the highs, there's that room to fall. Absolutely. But yeah, still got a long way, and I'm pretty bearish on Aussie as well. So I do agree with the bias. But yeah, guys, appreciate you tuning in. Have a great day. Like I said, we'll be live on Nick's channel tomorrow, and I will be posting my analysis on the weekend as always, recapping this week, forecasting the next. So if you do want my thoughts going into the next week, seeing what opportunities lie, make sure you do check out that video as well. But again, go check out Elevating Traders if you haven't done so already. But guys, really appreciate you tuning in. Have a great day. Catch you on the next one. Take care.